Okay. I've never been allowed to take charge of one of these meetings before, so I consider it a very high honor you're bestowing on me here. I promise not to screw it up. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I imagine if you couldn't, you would have told me I'm on mute. So, all right. Thank you. I sat in it for the last probably, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes on your meeting, and it's pretty enjoyable. It's looks like you got a good group there, and I wish I was closer to go fishing with some of you guys down there. I think it'd be a kick. So yeah, I've met a few of you probably at Lanice over the years. Talked to Chris over email. But my name is Mike Schmuck. I'm the district fish biologist for Grant and Adams County. So I've only got those two southern counties in Region 2, District 5. But I think Grant County has some of the best trout fishing. Okanagan's is pretty fair as well, but I think we got some really good fishing here in
Can I interrupt a minute?
Yes.
How come this meeting is being recorded by the host or participant is sitting right in the middle of my screen? How do we get rid of that?
Just should be a click on there up in the right-hand corner.
You click it, Deb.
Click on the got it button.
Click on the record button?
No, the got it button.
The got it button.
G-O-T-I-T. Got it. No, that's what was on my screen.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, John.
All right, Mike, are you trying to present right now? Because we're not seeing.
No, I'm just realizing that. Share screen. Screen 2. Okay, you should see just my presentation now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that good? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I like to run these presentations as kind of a discussion. So if at any point you want to dwell on a topic or a particular lake, just stop me and we can have a discussion. This isn't meant to be a 25-minute filibuster, me just talking about lakes. So
10 points to anybody who can say what that picture is behind Mike. What lake is that? Where are you at, Mike? I know where you're at.
okay, let's see. Let's have it.
No, that's Dusty.
Okay, we got one vote for Dusty.
I vote Lenore.
An eastern lake.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a hint. It's only got one species of fish in it.
I vote Lenore.
Big.
Yeah, that's Lenore.
Thank you.
Last week.
That's the north end of Lenore.
It is. Doesn't look like that anymore. It's ice free. But
Thank you.
yeah, more on that in a minute. Actually, all of our lakes are finally ice free. So I'll tell you more about that here in a minute. You can see my cover page here. Yeah. So primarily we're just going to talk about the selective gear waters because I think that's what you guys are most interested in, but I will give you, we'll talk about probably Burke, Quincy, and some of the other lakes that aren't selective gear, but are fishing well. And I would hope people hit them this spring while they're still fishing well. So, okay. So Lanice and Nunley, let's start there. So these are—
Was that Crab Creek? Was that Crab Creek there? And can you fish it?
Let me go back. Are you talking about—
Just quickly, that you had Crab Creek in the top right. And
That is not. No.
Oh,
That is what is known as the 239 drain. It and the 645 become the Frenchman Hills Wasteway. So if any of you are familiar with the Coast Guard towers that are along I-90, so if you're coming over here at night, you see those 3 big blinking towers just east of George.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see you all, so I can't tell if I'm getting blank stares or what.
I nodded.
yeah. Okay.
There's those towers go right by, or I should say, the 239 drain goes right by those 3 towers. And those little drains are absolutely full of really nice rainbow trout. So yeah, anyway. If you like,
The reason why I say that is because Crab Creek, I've got a stuffed trout that my father caught before I was born that I still own, that it was about probably 8 pounds, and he caught that out of Crab Creek. So I was curious, can you still fish Crab Creek?
I think the good fishing in Crab Creek is probably up toward Coffee Pot and into Lincoln County, from
Okay.
what I understand. The only thing you're going to catch down here, probably a lot of spiny rays and carp, you know, maybe smallmouth at the mouth of Crab Creek where it hits the Columbia. So Lanice and Nunley, the top pictures from this year, the bottom picture I think is from probably 2018, but I talked to a few people that were fishing it over the opener. We had open water on the opener. Both lakes, Nunley and Lanice, were wide open. Not many people fishing Nunley. Most of the people are fishing Lanice. One guy I talked to had a 20 fish morning. He was catching fish 14 to 17 inches. So, and the other people I talked to were having similar results. It was kind of windy one of the days. You know, it was getting windy in the afternoons, but I think early morning was a good bet out there. And for those of you who don't know, Lanice and Nunley are both stocked with catchable trout. So it gets around 2,500 in the spring and 2,700 in the fall, each lake. We can't sustain it with fingerlings just because we have pumpkin seed and probably a few bass in there as well that compete with fingerlings. So we've put out a pretty good fishery, I think, with catchable fish. Okay. So Lenore, this is from last year. Anybody, I don't know if you guys know Moses Lake Bob. He's kind of a well-known guy around these parts. Last year, this is fishing at the north end. This is spring of 2021, and they were catching a lot of fish in Lenore at this time. In fact, I just got a report from our creel technician. He was heading back up to Coulee City, and he stopped at Lenore, and he stood on the rocks, and he saw one pod of about 20 go by, and then another pod of about 30 go by. The water is really crystal clear right now, so it's a good time to get up there and fish Lenore if you're in the area. In 2020 and 2021, we had we've been doing fish rescues. A lot of those Lahontan's come up in that little inlet creek to spawn. Our hatchery staff spawn those fish. We collect some, take lengths and weights, but they will dwell there into May, late April into May, and that creek will dewater behind them, and they'll get stranded. So we get hundreds of trout that strand themselves trying to spawn in there. And so it's kind of become an annual pilgrimage for people to come up, and we make a couple days of it, and net those fish out of there, put them in a hatchery tank and haul them down lake, and hopefully they survive. The other big project,
big streamers for them, because those are big fish.
I'm sorry?
Is that a streamer game? Because those are big fish.
No, it's mostly chironomids. I think it's under an indicator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scuds.
Yeah, or scuds.
Scuds.
I'm about to get to, there you go. So for those of you who are familiar with the sign that is at the spawning channel, the fenced in spawning channel, if you've ever been to the north end, you've probably seen it. It was put up by the Washington Fly Fishing Club. The original was, I think, in the early 80s. It was replaced in 1993. And it's really showing its age. So we got together with a local fly club and also the Wenatchee Valley Fly Fishers, put together some money, and we replaced that sign this year. And so the signs are sitting in the next office here. We're going to get them up soon. So that was kind of a big project over the winter to get new signage up there at the spawning channel. So those of you who know Darce Noble at the Desert Fly Angler here in Ephrata. Yep, he was kind enough to tie up these flies. I asked him for probably the 6 most popular flies to fish at Lake Lenore. He's tied those up, we got him in a vise and took pictures of him, and those are going to be on the sign as well. So. No questions about Lenore. We can move on to Dry Falls. You know, I spent a lot of time at Dry Falls, especially in April, May, late March, and I'll run into quite a few people who can't quite figure it out yet. But then there's some others, like the gentleman that sent me this photos that has figured it out. I was driving down in there and I stopped at it just as you can see the lake, and I started glassing because I saw this guy absolutely just putting on a clinic on how to catch fish. It was one after the other. So I went and talked to him, and he was telling me all about it. His name is Steve Breck, and he's like, I gave him my phone number, and he just gave me picture after picture of really nice brown trout and really big rainbow trout that he catches in Dry Falls. So it's good to see that people are able to catch some big fish up in Dry Falls. There's fish up to 4 pounds in there. We've reduced the stocking rate on Dry Falls from about 6,400 to 4,500 so that you can target larger fish at Dry Falls. You're not going to get the numbers that you're going to get at Lanice and Nunley and lakes like that, but the fish you're going to catch are going to be bigger than those lakes. You guys don't have to be quiet. If you have questions, holler.
And what about go-to flies for Dry Falls?
I don't know, honestly.
Damsels in the weeds.
What's that?
Damsels in the weeds.
There you go. Yeah. I know a lot of guys fish pretty deep. You know, they'll fish a sinking line. That lake gets around 30 feet deep at the deepest point. Very clear, crystal clear lake. So
I stay away from the falls area where it is really deep and go over by the island where the weeds are going and cast into the weeds with like damsels, or you can even do chironomids there.
yeah, there was one guy I was talking to him. He was up against the rocks on the it'd be the east side of the lake, and he was eating a sandwich, and he was just kind of tossing bread in the water, and he realized there's all these big rainbows coming up and eating bread right in there. Just a bunch of big
bread flies
cruising around.
We don't do bait in this club.
He wasn't trying to. Rocky Ford. This is one that a lot of mixed emotions when you mention Rocky Ford. In January, February of 21, I don't know if you guys fished Rocky Ford. So yes, no.
Cooney, speak up.
I don't.
Cooney's the master.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Every
okay.
spring.
Okay. So that north parking lot was standing room only. There were so many cars and it jammed up, and people were catching fish left and right. These pictures here are from this past winter. I got those from Darce. That guy sent them to Darce, and then Darce sent them to me. I don't think it's the same fish over and over again either. So some really nice fish coming out of there. The water is very low right now in Rocky Ford, as it is in Dry Falls as well. And we're not exactly sure why that is. If it's just a change in the aquifer, or if we're just running out of water. The canals are on now, so the East Low and the West Low Canal are charged up, so that may pump a little bit of water into some of these systems, hopefully.
So those aren't triploids, right?
They might be. So I don't know if you guys are familiar. So we have an agreement. It's kind of a handshake, wink and a nod agreement with Trout Lodge that we will not stock it with our own fish because of disease issues. If there's any diseases we might bring into those fish, into that hatchery water, because they've got a hatchery on each end. So they've agreed to stock it with any surplus fish they can. So the gentleman who runs it right now, who's in charge of production, his name is Richard Anderson, and he is very good about keeping that section of creek stocked with nice fish. So, and anytime I call him and just mention the Fish and Slow, he'll throw in some big bruisers put in there. So they have a combination of, to get to your question. There's a combination of triploids and diploids they raise there. So those could very well be surplus triploids that, somebody decided not to purchase, or they just had a surplus.
One more question on that.
Yes.
Am I mistaken in that they're not supposed to be taking the fish out of the water at Rocky Ford?
Any more questions? Yeah,
No,
what?
I'm serious. I
know.
thought I thought they were really strict about that up there. That was one of the conditions that you can't wade into the water and you're not supposed to lift the fish
Right.
out of the water.
It's fly fishing only, and I'd have to look at the regs, honestly.
This is years ago, but you were allowed to keep one fish out of Rocky Ford Creek. But like I said, this is at least 15 years ago when I was fishing up there regularly.
Yeah, not anymore. It's catch and release only, fly fishing only. And I'm sorry, I don't have a reg pamphlet in front of me, and I'm not up to speed. I thought so too. I thought you were supposed to keep them wet, but I don't know that. So
You're not allowed to wade, that's for sure.
right,
That's for
you're
sure.
You cannot wade.
That was true 20 years ago.
right. Yeah, there's no wading, can't fish from a boat, nothing like that. So I think you can take them out of the water, unlike wild steelhead, you can't remove from the water. But I'm sure if somebody looked up fly fishing rules in the pamphlet, we could discover the answer to that. But I'm sorry to say I don't exactly know right now. Dusty, you guys fish Dusty much?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a bitch walking out. It's easy going down.
Yeah. It's a bitch walking out with a stringer full of fish, I just ran into 4 guys yesterday. I saw them and I glassed them, and I saw they were fly fishing, and then one guy fly fishing had a rainbow, I don't know, little one, and then he proceeded to bonk it. And then I walked down and I was like, hey guys, and the regs, and like, one fish, right? And I said, no, it's 1 over 18. And so
Correct.
yeah.
Yes.
So, but yeah, unfortunately, not everybody reads the latest regulations. The sign up there says 1 fish, but that's a very old sign. It needs to be replaced. So
Oh yeah, because you do need to say over 18.
yes,
Because most of them are like that. Coffee pot, all those walk-ins right there, ice, all those are the ancient chain of lakes. All those walk-ins at Quincy are 1 over 18, correct?
well, only Dusty, only the selective gear waters are 1 over 18. Yeah, so Lenore, Dusty, Dry Falls.
No, I mean at
Homestead.
Quincy. So that little ice and cup and Dusty, aren't all those little guys right next to Dusty and ancient chain that are all part of that Quincy hike-ins? I thought they were all selective gear, 1
No.
fish over 18.
No, those are all
Not Quincy and Burke across the road.
No, I know. Cup, Crystal, Cliff, all those are 5 fish a day. The only lake in there that's selective gear is Dusty.
Okay.
Yeah. Did talk to some people who are having some pretty good success there. They weren't pulling out big rainbows, but they were catching consistently from shore. Haven't talked to enough people yet who've fly fished it, from a float tube or anything like that. So, but I did get some good reports last year on some brown trout that are being caught, some nicer browns. But people who catch big fish in some of these lakes are pretty tight-lipped and don't really want to talk about it much. But the same people who don't want to talk about it much are the same people who want reports from other people. So yeah.
Washington Fly Fishing Forum talks about it a bunch. Those guys will mention it. But Dusty is a great lake for with damsel nymphs and chironomids.
Yeah, and I think bigger flies from the shore, they're casting toward the shore and bringing them back in the evening. Good for browns and tigers. So one thing I wanted to mention, going back to Dry Falls for just a second, we've stopped stocking tiger trout in Dry Falls. They weren't recruiting to the fishery at all. So what I did was took the allotment that went into Dry Falls and now we're putting it into Dusty. Hopefully we can generate more of a tiger trout fishery there. So I'm hopeful that'll happen here in the next few years. We'll start hearing more reports of tigers being caught.
Can you quickly tell, what about cup, ice, and, I mean, they're so dinky, they're like little dinky ponds, but what, do you have anything to say quickly about those right next to Dusty?
Yes, yeah. So we've got coming from Evergreen, you've got Crystal, Upper Lower Spring, Dot Lake, Lloyd Lake, Cliff, and Cup. Not good news. So the only fish I heard coming out this year was out of Dot Lake, which didn't lose any water over the winter. I think what we had a problem last year with summer kill. So if any of you are familiar with Scout Lake is a very tiny lake that is close to H Lake. So it's a little hike-in lake.
Right.
We used to stock it, but I went in October to pull a temp logger that I had in there over the spring and summer, and the lake was down probably 4 or 5 feet. There was hardly enough water in there to do much. I mean, any fish that would have been in there were dead, and there were no fish caught. No fish caught on Crystal from all the people I talked to. No fish caught on Upper Spring or Lower Spring. Those lakes were both down, and no fish caught on Cliff. So I'm going to go into those lakes later on, probably in April, as soon as I get some time here, and throw some gill nets out to see if there's any fish remaining. But I'm kind of fearful that they summer killed. We got to 108, 110 degrees in late June, and it stayed hot all through July into August. So fish really took a beating.
Luckily, Dusty is it close to 30? It's over 20 feet deep in the deeper section, in this front section here.
Yeah, it's very deep. The funny thing is, when all the other lakes were frozen, Dusty was not frozen. Like back in February, I hiked into all these lakes and Dusty was wide open. So I'm wondering if there must be a lot of spring activity in there. So all right, Homestead Lake. This lake doesn't get a lot of action just because the parking lot is a little sketchy. People are, I think, reluctant to leave their vehicles there. There's a lot of garbage in the parking lot. They cleaned it up, but it still gets it attracts a lot of attention from non-anglers who like to go out there and party and shoot and kind of just leave trash around. So, but it fishes well. I'm not going to say it fishes great. It fishes pretty well for rainbows, even some tigers coming out of there. Some good sized rainbows from a couple anglers that I get reports from. So I don't know if you guys know who Rex Takasugi is. He puts out a fly fishing newsletter for subscribers. He fishes all year long, all over the place, and puts out a really nice newsletter. Talks about where he fishes, what he used, size distribution of the fish he caught, things like that. And so he gives me reports on Homestead once or twice a year. So
how are we going to find that contact info?
I can share it with Chris and he can get out to the club. So it's a fee. I think he charges $50 a year, but he probably puts out a couple reports a month. So honestly, I think it's well worth it. He's
where's Homestead?
Homestead is in just north of Moses Lake off of Stratford Road.
Mike, do you get any reports from Homestead Creek?
I do not, no. You mean the creek that comes off of Crab Creek and goes into Homestead Creek?
I haven't made it there yet, but I've read a few reports of good fishing in Homestead Creek. It's real sketchy and a lot of unknowns, but it seems intriguing.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I haven't heard anything. It's a Homestead Creek in Grant County?
Yes, it's right by Homestead Lake.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that on a map, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's might be a little snaky out there and really ticky, but probably some big fish going up in there.
And so also Homestead is probably a single fish over 18, or is it catch and release only?
It is 1/18. But you're going to be, anybody that's going to keep a fish, is going to be walking it out about a mile. you know, and so I don't know. I suppose there's probably people that go out there and keep more than one fish every time they go out, kind of like Lanice and Nunley. But
Speaking of that, so you guys are always so understaffed, but what about the poaching issues? Are you able to?
which ones?
Well, so many of these lakes. I was at Lanice once several years ago, and I saw these guys at that north end, and they had white buckets. And you know, you're not supposed to be using bait, and what the hell are you doing catching multiple fish? You know, it's like.
Yeah, well, in what is it, the 15th, 16th today, and I've already caught two different groups fishing illegally at Dusty. You know, so.
And there was a few years ago, it was pretty devastating at Lenore, right? Because there was some major poaching going on.
Yeah, they confiscated around 327 Lahontan's. Yeah, I forget, that was a while ago, quite a while ago. And one thing a lot of people don't know, I just told a guy this yesterday and he had no idea. We stock Lenore with 70,000 fall fingerlings every year, so that we're not relying on any, you know, spawning in the lake. We stock it every year, so we can keep that fishery going. But yeah, that was a pretty big event, and I spent quite a bit of time down at Lenore, and we have cameras down there as well. We haven't noticed, we haven't seen anything come up on our cameras yet.
Wow, I mean, it's been a while since I fished Lenore, but and I don't know about the stocking thing, but there's a lot of fish in the creek in the north end and the south end.
Yes.
It's funny time.
Yeah, so at the south end, there's the Quincy Irrigation District has a pumping station that they pump water in and out of Lenore. I think it helps maintain the level of Soap Lake. But in winter, that whole channel down there is around 50 degrees. And so a few years ago, we went in with a GoPro underwater camera, a GoPro, put it underwater and have really excellent video of just, you know, hundreds and hundreds of big Lahontan's just cruising around down there. And
I mean, it's been a few years since, but I used to go over there regularly in the mid 80s and fish that south end, just staying on the shore there. And in March, because that's when they school up on the shores heading for that channel, and it was great fishing.
Yeah. There's I saw a couple guys, they put a drift boat in at the south end and fished it for a few days, and I'd heard they were catching some nice fish down there. But yeah, right at the opener, I think the south end there was a little chunk of water at the north end, but the south end was the only thing that was open so that you could fish. So I'm sure a lot of fish were stacked up down there.
Mike,
yes.
How are you doing as far as moving through your presentation? Are we on pace?
I'm here as long as you guys want to talk. I don't have a.
Thank you, Mike.
My wife goes to bed at like 8 o'clock every night, so I have all the time in the world. So she also gets up at 4. So that's,
well, if we're going to be here until 11, I need to go get some more beer. So I'm going to run out to the store real quick.
one thing I want to mention about the poaching at Lanice and Nunley. So that little lake you guys drive by on the way into Lanice and Nunley is called Burkett. So it's a Grant PUD facility there. They've got the information kiosk in the bathroom and things like that. So I'm stocking that with, let me see, this year it's going to be around close to 3,000 rainbow catchables. So what I'm trying to do is dissuade the locals, and it's the locals that are down there poaching in Lanice and Nunley, try to get them to go to Burkett Lake to get their 5 fish legally rather than going to Lanice and Nunley and catch fish down there. So yeah.
So on that note, with all these hike-ins, one of the big concern I've had for the past couple of, well, I guess over last year for sure, is the whole possibility of having not just your rigs broken into, but your catalytic converters stolen. Have you heard anything about that at Lanice and any of like Dusty and the Quincy chain of lakes and Coffee Pot or any of these lakes?
I haven't, not over here yet. No.
Good.
but we had two DFW vehicles stolen in Lakewood a few weeks ago, up at American Lake. So yeah, no, that fortunately, I think maybe the thieves around here are fearful they're going to get shot, by out there. I don't know. We've been lucky so far. I haven't heard anything
Good.
about
Perfect.
catalytic converters getting stolen. So
Hey, Mike,
You,
Mike,
you might want to consider on all those signage, mention something like, this is an open carry area. Have fun fishing.
yeah, they're kind of tight on the words I can put on signs. They don't just let me run amok with anything I want to put on there. I think somebody had a question. Yes.
may I ask a question about Beta Lake? Is a Beta Lake fishable? Or about 3 years ago, through Richard Anderson, I guess one of the member raised the money and then bought about $3,000 worth of fish, planted a Beta Lake.
Yes.
I think you remember Craig, Steve Cushing.
Yes.
I think he's been talking to you many times. in the
Yes, he
past.
has. Yep.
Yeah, what the future of Beta Lake?
That's coming up. Can I put you on hold for that?
Sure,
We'll
sure.
come to that in a minute.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Quail. So Quail Lake's another one that it's just kind of cruising along. It puts out decent fish. Nothing great. I think we could reduce the stocking rate, but it's kind of a nice place, little hike-in lake that you can go to on the refuge, fly fishing only, and puts out nice rainbow trout. Let's see. All right, here we are. So yes, in 2019, so Beta Lake is a 50-acre lake off of Dodson Road, just southwest of Moses Lake. Access to it's a little bit more difficult now just because we've got so much emergent vegetation that's grown in at the access point. If people do want to hike around to the south side, and it's not a long hike, this is what the south side access looks like. I actually launch, I've launched a shock boat in there. I've launched my 18-foot rehab boat in there. So that's a good place if you want to hike around to get into that lake. So we rehabbed it in 2019 because it was full of pumpkin seed. So pumpkin seed compete with fingerlings for food. This is a lake that's just plagued this district for decades, I think. In 2020, my daughter and I were out putting out some temp loggers, and I put out 3 temp loggers, just monitor water temps. And she goes, "Dad, what's that?" And it was a pumpkin seed, a pair of pumpkin seeds making a nest. So we didn't kill all the pumpkin seeds. It's nearly impossible. There's so much emergent vegetation. We can't get enough liquid into the Phragmites and the bulrush to effectively treat that lake. It's going to take probably burning all of it, and then after we burn it, get in there with chemical to treat it. But that's a huge project. So yep, in spring of 2020, you guys paid for, I dealt with Steve Cushing on that one, 200, it ended up being 200 adult rainbow trout. They average around 12 to 13 inches. And we kind of realized, well, we've tried the rainbow trout. We've gone down that path a few times and it hasn't worked. So we have some brown trout that we can move around from some other waters. So I thought, well, let's just try brown trout. We'll put brown trout in there. I put in 1,000 brown trout put grow takes. Those are 9 to 11 inch fish, excuse me. And now we're stocking it with fingerling brown trout. I've gotten one report. I got a report yesterday. Buddy of mine fished it and he said there's no signs of life, but it's early. I mean, we're right after ice off. So those fish, are not going to be moving around as much. You're probably not going to see them. So that's where we are with Beta Lake. We're good.
Would tigers take care of some of the pumpkin seed problem?
They could, but the reason I went with browns right away is we've never put tiger trout in Beta Lake, So that would require a SEPA process. And I thought, well, let's just try browns. I mean, they're very similar. I think they're both equally piscivorous, and we have some surplus brown trout. So
Question, how do you get to the south access into that lake? I know where the north access, where it's overgrown so bad. Where's the south access at?
let me, I'm going to share a different screen if it's all right. Okay, so do I have to stop sharing and then reshare? Let me try that.
Disappeared.
You were good. We saw your Google map come up there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were fine.
Okay. Oh, because
Go
it's on
back.
the same screen. Yep. Let me share again. And okay, you see it?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So
No, Mike, we've got the old Beta Lake graphic they had up before.
Yeah, we got the PowerPoint right now, not your Google map.
how do I do that? Oh boy. Well, let me try it again then. I will share. Okay, do you have it now?
Here you go.
Bingo.
There it is.
Okay. We have a winner. Okay, so right here where my cursor is, that's the old, well, I shouldn't say, that's the current access. And let me zoom in a little bit. So you have to hike in basically to right in here. These, what would you call that color? Maybe algae
Turquoise?
green. Yeah, so you have to go all the way through here and out to the main lake. The south access is right here.
Oh, okay.
So the only problem is, well, I guess not a problem. You can park here and just hike around the Russian Olive. And once you find this road, you just stay on that road and it'll take you right to that access. So if you don't mind hiking, I mean, what is that? Maybe a half a mile. What I would love to be able to do is create a new access inside. However, right here, this is a air traffic controller tower, I believe, FAA tower, and that's private property. So we can't give access to someone's private property there. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so Mike,
Yes.
here's a question. Go back to there used to be a put in and you had to hack your way through the reeds and then row across those two little ponds to get into the main lake. Is that still accessible or not?
Say that again. Is that Steve talking?
Yeah, it is, Steve.
Okay.
But you used to be able to, at that parking lot, there was a put in there and you could go across those two ponds and actually struggle your way into the main lake.
You can still do that. But
It really, it's no fun.
no.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
So
I'm 54. I don't want to do it.
okay. So if you've got a wheel for your pontoon boat, you can wheel it around that, going counterclockwise from that public parking lot there. Going counterclockwise from there, you can go around and intercept that trail and get to the water.
You could. You're going to be going. It's mostly sand and rabbit brush. Yeah, you could do it.
Do you have to be younger than 55?
Might help. I don't know.
Okay.
No, you just have to really, really want to go fishing there. So yeah, it's tough. I've talked with the wildlife guys to punch in another access from the north end, so you can go down that sandy road and then go in there. But they're really busy with other projects, and it's just, yeah, there's so many things you need, so many hoops you need to jump through now to create a new access. For one, if we create a new access, it's got to be ADA compliant. We got to do cultural resources. We got to do all these things that are it's just money after money after money. They talk about putting in a better access at Nunley, but it's really cost prohibitive. Because, you know, if you fish Nunley, it's very similar. You got to hike. It's not as bad a hike, but there's really no good way to get down to the lake. It's choked with Phragmites. So this would be a similar project.
Huh.
The next step maybe for bait, if tiger trout and brown trout don't work, I bet you bass would work.
Oh,
Thank you for bringing that up. We got a lot of trout fishermen here and not a lot of bass fishermen. How about Stan Coffin and talking about some bass over there?
Yeah, Stan Coffin's a nice one. It just gets really weedy in the summer. So
How about spring, like early May?
oh, even right now, it's been ice off. I saw a truck out there yesterday. Right now would be a really good time to be out there. The perch are spawning. I did a diet study there in 06 and 07. And in March, all the largemouth bass diets were primarily perch. So yeah, just go fish
That's
something.
not bad.
Streamer pattern, you know, looks like a perch or something.
Yep.
But those perch might be of some decent size, right?
Not in Stan Coffin, no. There's not enough
Well,
predation on them because we've got bass. The predator in there is bass, and they've got to deal with some crappie, a lot of bluegill, a lot of pumpkin seed, and a lot of perch, and a lot of vegetation. So they're fighting their way. It's kind of like hunting elk on the coast. You know, you got to get through all of that vegetation to get something, and the bass just work way too hard to control that population. They just can't do it. So you're going to have a lot of small fish in there.
So what about Evergreen or some of these others? That was one of my questions that I didn't want to drag this out until the end, but
That's a
maybe
trout
we can talk
club.
about that in the end.
Yeah, we can talk about that at the end if you want.
Yep.
So some of my favorite lakes and some of the lakes I want to point you guys to are the Seep Lakes. $50 in a bottle of my best Boone's Farm wine if you can name these two lakes.
One lake and two lake.
One of them is Pacific Lake.
This is Grant County.
I know they're not Widgeon.
You got a 20% chance of getting them right.
Did you hear me say Pacific?
Yeah, I've never been to a Pacific Lake. The top one is
they're one of the 5 names on the left.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the top one's Virgin and the bottom one's Sage.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The top one is Janet.
Janet
Bottom one's Katie. Bottom one's Katie. Sorry.
All right.
I get to keep my Boone's Farm. All right.
Lucky you.
So if I could steer you toward any little hike-in lakes, provide good fishing, these are the ones. So how many of you are familiar with the Seep Lakes area in general? This is south of Potholes, south of Warden Lake.
There's some of us who've been over there.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So essentially, just east of Potholes Reservoir, before you get to Warden Lake on Highway 263, there's a Seep Lakes Road. We've got a big kiosk there. You drive south on the main Seep Lakes Road. You'll come to you can hike in from Marco Polo into Lois Lake, Virgin Lake, Katy Lake, Janet, and also the Sages you can actually drive to. So Katy Lake was rehabbed in 2019 to get rid of all things carp. Somebody put carp in there. and it's turned into a nice little trout lake. It's about 6 acres. It gets stocked about 200 fish per acre in the fall. It's a year-round lake. And from what I've noticed, it's getting a fair bit of pressure from the bait crowd, but there's some decent little rainbows in there. And you can get to that going down the Steep Lakes Road. We have a sign that says Susan, Katie, turn there. You can hike into that. Janet's another one. It's kind of low right now, and it also may have summer killed. We're going to go in and check it out. But I've heard that concern in the past, and later on in the year I get reports of guys catching really big rainbows in there. So I'm not convinced yet that it's summer killed or winter killed. So from the Marco Polo public access on the Steep Lakes Road, these look like roads. They're really not. You would park at that public access and hike into Virgin, hike into Lois. Lois has some really nice big rainbows in it. Very clean, deep lake, crystal clear. You can stand on the cliffs on the southeast side and just look down, and it's just a beautiful little lake. Virgin's another one. That's a good lake. Got some nice rainbows in it. You'll usually have that place to yourself. You hike in there. It's 0.7 miles. I mean, it's just over flat terrain. You can wheel your cart in there easy as can be. You might have to contend with some cattle, but great little lake to hike into.
That's Virgin?
That is Virgin, yep. The Sage Lakes, you can actually, like I said, drive to these lakes. You're not supposed to drive into them, despite the fact that you see a road going down to East Sage Lake. But where I'm taking these pictures from, you can park right there and just kind of drop down to either one of them. Really good rainbow trout fishing in there right now. I think East Sage gets to about 60 feet deep and West Sage gets to 48 feet deep. They're just kettles. They just drop down. They got some really nice cold water in them. They fish well all year. These are year-round lakes as well. Put some big catchables in there last fall, and it gets fall fingerlings, but those lakes get a lot of attention and put out some really nice fish. It's funny, I got a call from a guy yesterday, and there was a chironomid hatch on from, I think he said, for like an hour, and the fish were just feeding like crazy. And after that, the bite went right off. So I think at times you got to just hit it at the right time. And that one, those two lakes are just north of Long Lake, which is essentially a wide spot in the Potholes Canal. So get on, if you're interested, you can reach out to me directly. I can send you a map, or you can find these on with a quick Google search as well.
Are there any fish in those canals between the lakes?
There probably are. There's probably a lot of smallmouth, a lot of walleye, in the spring, but some of them are ripping pretty good, and they're tough to fish because they are very channelized. I always thought it'd be kind of fun to kayak down one of them, but
don't swim in them.
No. It's probably just a stupid idea. So I keep my.
Thanks, I was young.
Right.
I was young.
Yeah. So this is Upper Hampton, just in case you're curious in the picture. Our late April opener, so Park, Blue, and the Columbia National Wildlife Refuge walk-in lakes. Do you guys fish Park and Blue much? I know you're coming up here to Ephrata Park up here in
First week of May.
In May. So is that I'm assuming that's also a fishing trip. You're going to fish some local lakes.
No, we don't fish.
We just look for somebody to throw under the boat.
We're not very good at fishing, but we're real good at drinking.
Just gonna play that little 9-hole course over and over again. Yeah. Well, if you do hit Park and Blue, we put some catchables in there in fall, and both lakes were putting out really good rainbows last spring. So So down on the Columbia National Wildlife Refuge, south of Potholes, we have what we call the Pillar Widgeon chain of lakes. And so these are fourth Saturday in April until September 30th lakes, 5 fish a day, but it generally attracts, you get the occasional bait fishermen that want to hike in there and contend with the snakes and the ticks, but it's primarily guys hauling in their float tubes and fishing some of these lakes. Some of the better lakes are Widgeon, Sago, Hourglass, Cat. Everything along here close to the canal stays nice and cool all summer. In summer 21, I had a couple temp loggers and a dissolved oxygen sensor on Gadwall Lake. Gadwall Lake gets really deep, around 65 feet deep. And when I pulled the DO sensor in October, hooked it up to the computer, the DO at 24 feet dropped to 0 for a couple months. I mean, it blipped up a little bit, but it dropped right to 0. And, that was in the middle layer, the metalimnon. And in the upper layer, that lake had stratified, the DO was plenty high enough, but the water temps were so warm, fish couldn't have survived. I mean, it was over 80 degrees and several days and over 75 for probably a month or more. So if those fish weren't making vertical migrations up and down into that cooler water, into the warmer water to get dissolved oxygen, it's a good chance most of them died. So that's another one that I'm going to go in, throw a couple gill nets and see if we had any survival over the summer. So, but beyond Gadwall, the other lakes fish really well in 2021, and they're incredibly deep too. They drop right off. Even Widgeon Lake is 48 to 50 feet deep, and these are not very big lakes. So, but they're fun to fish. They're good to hike in. It's not a long hike. I mean, I'd say from the parking lot to the farthest lake down there, Widgeon, is maybe a mile. And you've got trails you can hike. So you could bring a cart, take your boat down there. Again, if anybody has specific questions on any of these lakes, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you a more detailed map. Let's see. Now, if we want, we can talk about Evergreen, unless you have some other questions. But yeah, I guess real quick, jumping back to Evergreen, it's been putting out really good crappie in the small arm toward I guess it would be the south side of Evergreen Reservoir. Some really big crappie in there. So, and it's got good tiger muskie. So, be a good opportunity to, pull out your big flat rod.
Jump your cable leaders.
I would recommend them. Yeah, they'll just, anything monofilament, a tiger muskie is going to just cut it. It's very similar to, fishing northern pike or anything like that.
So what would be your go-to lakes for big perch?
Blue Lake. So just north of Soap Lake, go to Blue Lake, probably Park Lake, but last year everybody was hitting Blue Lake and keep as many as you can. I mean, more than you think you want. Give them to your, clean them, give them to your friends, give them to your neighbors, give them to family, because the minute we stop harvesting perch, we get small perch. So the only way to keep a perch population going is to keep as many as you can. There's no way we're going to wipe them out with recreational angling.
And so when I say big, when you say big, what at least 10, over 8 inches, 10 inches?
Oh, I'm talking 12 to 14 inch perch.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, there's guys that have it dialed in. They would just anchor up and sit on the school perch. They got their fish finder. The fish finders now, you can see your line. You can see the fish take your bait. They were just sitting over schools and just yarding them out.
So the crappie aren't devastated by the muskies in Evergreen? Sorry, Steve.
That's okay.
One more time. Was that Paul?
Yeah, the crappies aren't devastated. I mean, I would think all those small spiny rays are going to just be pummeled by muskies. Is it because they just get way into the brush where a big ass muskie just can't physically fit into those trees? And
Probably. You know what's funny too? It's very interesting. To answer your question, I think that's it. I think that the crappie, they just are good. They're obviously good at hiding. I mean, the perch too. I'm not exactly sure what the tiger muskies in there eat. I mean, honestly, it's whatever they want, but they don't get really big in Evergreen. I think the biggest one I've seen is probably around 48, 50 inches. And if you went up to Curlew or even Newman Lake over in Spokane, there's really big fish up in Curlew, but they also have pike minnow they can eat. So, yeah, we were stocking, we stock Evergreen every year with, right around 300 tiger muskie. And it's very rare to ever see a tiger muskie in the water. And I think we probably saw 10, 11 in that set where I'm telling you go, that south arm. And we're stocking fish, and we can look and we can see these, they're not real, they're subadults, they're probably like, 36 inches, 36 inches, but they were all over in that channel in there. Must have been just the warm water and the prey availability, but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So a question about Evergreen, there's an Evergreen Lake down near Bonneville too. We're talking about the one up in near George.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. On the
Great.
Quincy Wildlife
Okay.
area. Yep.
Quincy chain of links.
So the last time I was up there, there was a car that was stripped in that parking lot. Has there been any trouble there? I mean, it's not too far off I-90.
No,
it's a ways, but not far.
You only saw one car stripped out there? Yeah, I don't talk to a lot of people who have problems out in the Quincy Lakes, really. I mean,
good, great.
Yeah,
I spent the night at Dusty, Steve, in the back of my truck, and so I left. And I'm gone all day. Hence the
I know it's periodic.
But you can't see your vehicle from when you go down into Dusty. You cannot see your vehicle, and many of those little those hike-in lakes, you can't. You're not. Good luck. And
right.
So I was okay, but
well, I think fortunately we have a lot of use out there. Like, so there's mountain bikers, there's just campers, there's hikers, there's a lot of the right kind of people out there. People who aren't
good
as trouble. We have
good.
Last year, a buddy of mine and I, there's a big mountain bike loop down there we did, and I was amazed at the number of people down at the ancient lakes camping. I mean, people from all over the place, down there. So we're getting much more the type of recreation we want out there, which might probably just dissuades a lot of
that's good. That's good.
Steve,
that's what we want. Yeah.
You make a good point about that, Mike, because as I was fishing Dusty, I noticed there was a number of people that were just hiking up on the ridges, because if any of you guys have gone into Dusty specifically and looked into the ancient chain, it's just wonderful geology. It's crazy. It's when you drive up in that whole area and you see agriculture, and then you come into this, it's like, whoa, it's surrealistic.
Yeah.
And that's all part of the whole Missoula floods. And all these sea lakes, and Dusty's pretty deep. And to see that rock face, just like with Dry Falls, it's 100 feet or more high. It's pretty surrealistic. And there's lots of people, like you said, Mike, going out there just to recreationally walk and mountain bike. And I think there's enough activity that maybe that would dissuade people from wanting to, break into a car during the day.
Yeah. I mean, I say this reluctantly, but if there's one good thing that came out of the COVID pandemic, was more people got outside after, we opened up our state lands again. And it's a lot of new recreationalists, people who've never camped, never fished, never, they want to get out of their house and go do things. So hopefully that continues. So.
Great. Yeah, it's all good. There's a bunch of good information here. I appreciate it.
Tons of it. Two more questions, Mike. Best crappie lake, best bluegill lake.
there's a little lake called Williams Lake. At the end, it's on Dry Coulee Road. I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I'm going to. So this is out off Highway 28. East of Soap Lake.
So there's somebody else who likes to catch crappie on a three-way?
Yes, I grew up catching all those fish, but not fly fishing, and so now I definitely want to do it fly fishing. And perch
Are you with
taste
me?
awesome. So all three of those fish are awesome tasting. So
Can you see my screen?
no, it's black.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm zooming in. So
Wait a minute, my screen's black. What happened?
There's Soap Lake.
God damn it!
We see you.
What happened?
can you see my screen?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
it's on there.
Yep.
Damn it! What the hell
You're
happened
good to
here?
go.
Okay, you'll just have to talk me through it.
Okay, just a second.
There, now I see it. Okay. Phew.
Okay, so here's Williams Lake.
Not to be confused with the big ass Williams Lake just south of Spokane.
No, this one is all surrounded, it's all private property. And okay, so let me back you out here. So you take Highway 28 and you're just east of Soap Lake. Take Dry Coulee Road. You're gonna take a left on Dry Coulee Road. And you're gonna stay on that until you get there's a little road right here. I don't have it's okay. So essentially what Dry Coulee Road is, it's a cut, it'll take you out to Pinto Ridge Road, which gets you into Summer Falls on Billy Clapp Lake. Take a left here, and this man, his last name is Zellweger. He owns, so this is a county road, but it dead ends right here. Okay. And he owns all of this, but he doesn't mind if people fish. You know, he has no problem with that. He just makes he'll come down and talk to you, but that has really good crappie. And that's a year-round lake. I'm talking really big crappie. You would probably want to use a float tube, something that you're going to get through this channel with.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, boats. Yeah.
There's no walking around the lake to get to a better spot. That's it. You park, you dump your stuff out here, you go park in the parking lot, you walk back and you get in the lake. And super nice guy, but he has a lot of problems with, you know, tweakers, and people come down there at 2 a.m. to dump garbage and all this other stuff. So he's just
Does he live close by where you could stop by, say hello, hey, I'd like to fish?
He lives right there, right on the corner. Trust me,
Okay.
you won't have to stop by. He'll stop to see you. He's got a gate here and some dogs. They're friendly enough dogs, but
oh, you have to drive past the place to get to the lake.
Yeah, you have to go right by his house there. What I would recommend, if you see his garage open, or whatever, you see him, maybe stop and wave and let him come to the fence, then talk to him that way. He's guarded, but he's friendly, you know. So that's the best crappie lake. If you don't want to deal with all that, I guess the other option is Evergreen. And
Also, what about the one south of Sprague?
Cow?
You got to go in like a mile. So you're gonna have to go in like a canoe or electric trolling motor. But that doesn't have the biggest crappie in the state.
I
can't remember the name of it. But
are you talking about Downs Lake?
No, it's long. It's super long, like several miles long. But it's super narrow, and it's private on each side. And it's south of Sprague, or it's right near Sprague. But I thought it was south of Sprague.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. That's
okay.
I'm gonna just say not my district. Sorry. I don't,
Fair enough.
I will show you the spot on Evergreen to hit for big crappie. You with me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, this channel. There's good crappie in here. And this is where I saw the muskies. And that was in May. It was kind of crazy. I mean, we can hardly even shock up a muskie with an electrofisher, and I saw 10 in this little area. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good crappie lakes. Crappie don't compete well with other species like perch and pumpkin seed and bluegill. Best bluegill lake, I would say, is up in Okanagan County. It's Leader Lake. So that's just out of the town of Okanagan and Malott. It's right off Highway 20. You can go to Okanagan and go or cut up through Malott and hit Highway 20, and it's not far out of the city of Okanagan.
So talking about the warm water species, I know that you were talking about the sea lakes. What about Soda Lake?
Soda Lake's good for a variety of species. It's a lot of the fish that just get washed down in the Potholes Canal. So the walleye, the last time we did a survey, I think was 2015 in there. The walleye weren't big. I couldn't even tell you what to expect in there right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I fished there years ago for stuff.
Yeah.
With bait.
A couple other good lakes. So if you guys ever go up to Chelan or the town of Manson, where I think the Mill Bay Casino is there, there's 3 lakes: Wapato, Roses, and Dry. Those 3 lakes are really good fisheries. Wapato is a good crappie lake. Roses Lake has really nice channel catfish in it, good bass fishing, good bluegill fishing. And Dry Lake has good bass fishing. I mean, it's another, all 3 of those lakes, you could spend a week there camping or staying in Manson, you know, and fish those lakes and catch all kinds of different things. And they're fun places to fish.
Plus, from there, you can take the ferry up to Stehekin and fish the Stehekin River.
Yeah, we fished that in September. We were doing spawning for kokanee and catching some really nice cutthroats that come up there.
Yeah, there's an excellent guide up there named John Wilsey that does a great job. He's the only authorized guide on the Stehekin River.
What did you say was Wapato had?
Wapato has very nice crappie. In the past, it's had nice perch. That was a while ago. That it could be a totally different situation now. It's also got good kokanee. They just started stocking kokanee in there. Let me just take you up there real quick, and I'll show you where those 3 lakes are for those who don't know. So here's Chelan. Here's the town of Manson. So we got Roses Lake, Dry Lake here, and Wapato.
And they're all drive-to lakes, right?
Yes. Yes. There's a really good launch on, so you can launch a big boat on Roses or Wapato. You can launch it's not a big boat, but there's a little bit of a launch here on Dry Lake as well. But you don't need a big boat on Dry Lake. It's a small enough lake. You can just kind of float around. That whole lake is good. It's got really nice bass in it and really nice crappie.
On Wapato, you can actually rent a boat.
Oh yeah, down here at the Kamea campground, you can probably rent a boat. This end down here is a good end for crappie on Wapato. That northwest corner.
I actually caught a small largemouth bass right there out in front of the campground with a fly.
Getting a bit of an echo, so I can't quite understand.
Right out there in front of the campground, I actually caught a largemouth bass, a very small one, on a fly.
Oh, yeah, there's really nice bass on Wapato. This is a good area up in here. There's a lot of large woody debris, a lot of down ponderosa pine in there that the largemouth like to hang out in.
Mike, I think, and I know you can go all night, but I think somehow we gotta come for a wrap. I don't, are you just kind of down to general questions now?
Me?
For you?
Yeah. Whatever you guys want to talk about. I mean, I've been working in the region for about 22 years, so
Well,
any information I can give you.
yeah, but we still get a few more hours with you in a couple months here.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because folks, I think we do need to make a wrap. One thing, Mike has told us an awful lot tonight. This expands way out from what we've gone over there and fished before. And this will be recorded. Hopefully that's okay with you, Mike. And it'll be up on our website. So details of what was talked about or asked is going to be there. You didn't have to have all the notes. And I will add in that video the information on that that subscription you mentioned to Paul. And then for people that don't know it, Roy with the East Lakes and Dan with Lanice is working with Mike for having him come to those two outings just for a little bit to help us kick off and see how things are going. So if you have more questions, you're going to have more opportunity to ask about things like you were asking for the best lakes, right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Chris, if you want to share my email address, phone number, people can text me with questions if they're out fishing or have any issues or anything like that. So, yeah.
Okay, I will add that in the YouTube too, where you usually get more information that you pull down under your YouTubes. I'll put it. Okay, anybody else have anything as they can't get by and let go this night without asking?
I do. And Mike, I just want to thank you so much for the information that you've given to us. This has been a great program. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I wanted to say one thing, maybe end on a laugh here. So I gave a talk to the Wenatchee Valley Fly Fishers about a week ago. And then next day I'm out at Lenore. And these two guys pull up and they're talking to me and like, yeah, we're in the Wenatchee Valley Fly Fishers. No, you gave that talk the other night or last night. And I said, oh yeah, well, I'm much better in person. The guy goes, yeah, I don't know.
Well, they aren't any nicer than the people that belong to this club either.
Hey, Mike, I spoke with you last year a couple of different times because I wanted to go into Dusty and some of these lakes. And you tonight, just like you did before on the phone with me, you have gone well above and beyond sharing little secrets and these kinds of lakes. And this was incredibly detailed. And I'm just super thankful because I grew up in the Tri-Cities, but I never spent a lot of time in many of these lakes. And you've obviously got these lakes dialed in. And this was really informative. And you didn't have to share all that stuff, and you did. And so I'm really appreciative. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. I was talking to my wife. She's like, well, at what point are you going to retire? I said, I don't think I'm ever going to retire because this isn't even a job. This is just, I have so much fun, relaying information I learned to you guys. I mean, I just love it. So it's a labor of love. And, I figure any information I have, I'm more than willing to share because, if we can lessen the learning curve, for a lot of people. I want to get more people out fishing and catching these fish. So, but thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
really great
thanks, Mike.
information.
All right, Mike, thanks. I think the only thing you could add in is Ed Sale lost a reel last year over there. So if you found one on a bank, the guy in the middle of my screen wants it.
Where at?
No, he got it back.
Yeah,
Hey, Ed, didn't you get that reel back?
yeah, I think it was Quincy Lake. One of the fellows in the 2-person pontoon boat found it. And someone from our club, after I mentioned it to our club that I had lost it, someone had talked to him and actually got me in contact with him. He sent it to me.
Wow.
Yeah, I know who that was.
Real nice guy.
Oh, good. Well, again, thank you, Mike. And I
Welcome.
really enjoyed working with you to help put this together. When we first talked last year, I knew that you were going to really be easy to converse with. And I appreciated the way you got back to me quickly when we need to talk about stuff. So thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you over there. I'll be over there at the East Lake one in May.
Okay.
I hope I can see you there.
We'll talk soon, Chris. Thank you very much. And great to meet everybody. Can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, see you soon.
You bet.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks a